Hey everyone, welcome to Shiro Show Live. It's Friday and I'm Saturn Dave, and with me here is Trainoco. How you doing?
Doing all right, just hanging in there, doing well. Got my vaccine, so I'm very excited to, not suffer through COVID anymore, so that's great.
I don't know if we're supposed to say that or not, right? People say, no, never mind. It's cool.
Gotcha. Oh
YouTube
yeah, that's right. We have to say the global pandemic or the global
worldwide
incident.
event that is affecting millions of people, billions of people,
Exactly.
I guess.
This is like some Resident Evil stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, so same here, like a day or two ago. So we took care of that. That's good. Now we got Saturn stuff to talk about. So yay. We got a new like CRT video wall here. How do you like that? That broke my back moving all of those in here. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just messing around.
You must be a mess behind there. Did you do any cable management or just threw it to the floor and be like...
It is so squirrely back there. It's just a huge nest of wires and cables and all sorts of stuff.
You one of those guys who just sets it and just like throws it here stuff like, oh, I'm good.
That's right.
It's good. It's running.
No,
Bye.
actually, to be completely honest with you, cable management is like the bane of my existence. I would cable manage everything if I could, but sometimes you are like just trying to jury rig stuff to make sure that it like works, and it's those times that I just have anxiety attacks over like all the cable stuff. Especially in setups.
I think my issue though is that I remove and move things so often. Yeah. I'm just removing all of it anyways. Yeah. So it's like it's never
yeah, exactly. Things are very ad hoc, touch and go. You're like moving things around to try to like, I mean, because we're always doing new stuff, you know, we're always like on to the next thing, and it's like, okay, so this is my temporary setup and there's just wires going everywhere. But yeah, for the most part, I do prefer things to be nice, neat, and orderly. So while we're at it, do we have Nick in the chat with us?
Yes. Hello. Unless you can't hear me.
Yes, we can. We can hear you.
I can't hear him. I'm just joking.
Oh, great.
We have got.
I'm the voice of God today.
Yeah, the voice of God has joined us. Has come down upon high. Nick Pandemonium. If you may not be familiar, he runs a channel called Pandemonium Reviews Every US Saturn Game, and he is also a Shiro. And we are glad to have him on the show today because he wrote some articles and he also has things to say about the weekly news, and so we're glad to have him. Anyway, let's go ahead, since we have a lot to talk about. We'll go ahead and load up the browser here.
Load it up.
And
gonna get the nice little pillar right there.
There you go. So I guess we'll start
the pillar of news, or whatever direction I'm facing.
Yeah, it's
this
like,
way. Yeah. So whatever the opposite direction there. The pillar of news. Is it this way?
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah, right there.
That's the pillar.
So yeah,
your hand is
a lot has happened this week. Well, I think it seems like a lot has happened this week. Some weeks are slow, but this week we kicked it off last Sunday. Trekkie's dropped a new patch for Grandia, and I guess this is the release candidate still. So this is 9.3, but it basically fixes some spelling and grammar. There's just some subtle corrections with the FMV on disc 2, and then there's some kind of experimental fix to change the priority of the compass so that it doesn't obscure the text boxes. So that's interesting.
Working on some VDP stuff going on there.
He still hasn't called it final or anything. He hasn't like put his like final stamp like on it, but from this point on, it's literally just going to be tiny little things that get reported. So it remains to be seen when that's going to happen, when he's going to, say, okay, this is it. This is the last one. But it'll be soon. I have a feeling. Yeah. And of course, this uses Night of Dragons patcher. So that's awesome because I think the hope is to move towards that patcher for like all the projects. Standardize it and just make it the de facto Saturn game patcher, which will be awesome. So
yeah, because remember we had to do it first. We had to like rip these CDs, and then we had to like patch it in a certain way, and it was like a 12-step process that sometimes would work, sometimes
absolutely wouldn't. Yeah, you had to do like ISO and wave or something like that, and then or BinQ, then you had to take it into ISO Buster. You had to do all this stuff. So of course this is going to be a lot easier. So shouts to Night of Dragon, and shouts to Trekkie, of course.
Thanks, buddy.
Because without Trekkie, we wouldn't have this awesome playable version of Grandia on the Saturn, which a lot of people believe believe, is the definitive version.
Nice.
So yeah, we also celebrated 25 years of Panzer Dragoon Zwei. Do you have any experience with this game, Pat?
A little bit. I think this actually was the first Panzer Dragoon game I played.
Was it?
Weirdly enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what happened, but basically I remember playing it first, and I really liked the differences between the first. It feels like more like a breath of fresh air and more, I guess more options to do things. I don't know. I kind of like the walking stages were pretty fun.
It was a big jump. I especially like the branching paths you can take, which you couldn't do that in the first Panzer. No. It was very much a straight shot, but this one had like different like paths for certain levels. Most people would probably notice it first in the second level when you walk to the left canyon, and then in the part where your little baby dragon jumps off the cliff, it flies instead of falls to the ground.
Exactly.
Well, and then your little baby dragon learns to fly, and then like this majestic music plays, and it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Some of those later levels in Zwei get really difficult too. This is a tough game. It's very fun though. This is definitely one of the best games on the console.
It's kind of funny. It reminds me a lot of Star Fox 2 in a way, like how they evolved from like just the flying stuff, and then they had like the robot chicken legs. Yeah, they had the similar thing with Zwei.
You're talking like Star Fox 2, like the unreleased Super Nintendo
the
one,
SNES
right?
one.
Yeah.
I agree.
Those are the best Star Fox games.
I mean,
the SNES ones were the best.
Definitely, it has a lot of Star Fox, vibes going on. But of course, I think it even takes the genre even further than the Star Fox did for like the rail shooting stuff. And
right, this is obviously way cooler.
What stuck with me as a young teen playing this game is that I did play the first one, and I mean that was cool, and it was a dragon and everything. I was interested in how much they fleshed out the story here, and how you're basically a kid from a small village, and your dragon is actually like a herd animal, right? It's like a pack animal called a kulia. So it wasn't even, it was almost like a mutation, and it kind of like made me, it just kind of amazed me that, okay, like more than just what we typically think of as a dragon could qualify as a dragon. Like these herd animals, which are kind of like lizard looking llamas or something like that, end up morphing into dragons, and that he had like this thing in his throat, this bright light coming from his throat that he would like do his berserker attacks and stuff like that. It just had a profound effect on me when I was young, and it was just a candy for the eyes for sure.
Oh yeah, big time.
And the music by Yayoi Iwachi was amazing too. Yeah. I know Peter, our other Shiro, Peter, he really does prefer the orchestral soundtrack. He's a really big like Enya fan. He's really big into like orchestrated music and stuff like that. So I don't blame him. The first soundtrack is like, it's epic, and it's just you have it on data discs, right? You have the vinyl.
Vinyl, yeah.
I mean, it definitely.
I have that one, and I have I actually had getting two variants. I got the original one that's by Data Disc, and then the remake soundtrack that's going to be by Limited Run Games.
I got you. Yeah. So wow, that's cool.
And I'm getting that signed by Sari Kobayashi, so that's pretty cool.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Awesome. Well, I mean, moving down the list, so we've got a confirmation from Forever Entertainment that they're working on the remake, and that's going to be released in 2021. So that's a very exciting bit of news.
Absolutely.
In addition to the VR game, right? Which is Voyage Record.
That's the one I'm really looking forward to. Voyage Record, like as a VR guy, that one should be fantastic, assuming it comes out at some point. I know they're making it. It's official. It's legit. So I don't think they have a release date or anything last time I checked, and it's still very much in development.
Yeah.
I used to wonder if I should pick up a VR headset for that one.
Oh, dude. I thought you already had a VR headset.
I don't, unfortunately. I keep meaning to get it, but I keep just upgrading my GPU instead.
Nice. Take out a mortgage on a $3,000 GPU.
No, the trick is to flip your old ones.
Oh, nice.
Well, yeah, and I see you're really good at that too. You know, I mean, hey, that's what you got that page for, right? You can reach out to tons of people and be like, "Who wants it?" You like got it sold like right away.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Right on.
I put it on OfferUp. I guess for people that don't know, I sold a 1080 on OfferUp. It technically was my friend's, but I put it up. I went to bed and I had 37 messages
Really?
for it.
Wow.
Yeah, the GPU market right
It's
now
crazy.
is nuts.
It is.
It's nuts.
Yeah, I don't want to. I don't want to. I'm not going to be able to say how much somebody paid for it, but it definitely was a little bit more than I put it up for. So that's all I'll say.
Yikes. All right.
Like if you've got a 10 series and above and it's used, you could probably sell it for more than however much you paid for it new 5 years ago. Like it's the market for GPUs right now is just nuts. So it's not.
But I'm mostly selling my other GPUs. Like I got the 3080 and I got rid of my 3070. I just gave it to my roommate at MSRP.
Congrats, dude. That's good. That's good.
Yeah, and I'm actually probably gonna aim for that 3090. Now I'm thinking about it, but we'll see.
Kind of resizing this window here. So yeah, I mean, coming back to Panzer Dragoon II Zwei before we leave here, if you guys haven't played this game, you really must. It's been 25 years. You have no excuse. If you're a Saturn fan, I imagine you have at least burned a copy and played it. But some people argue it's the best one. It was developed in tandem with Saga, and it was made by a team of 20 individuals, very, very talented individuals that pushed the Saturn hardware we'll see. Its limits may be pushed even beyond this moving forward with homebrew
It
development.
got pushed to something,
but it
right?
definitely took advantage. Yeah. It took advantage of the double processor debugging thing that it blows my mind now after watching Nick's video that now that I think of any game that took advantage of both processors, they had to debug both processors. Which makes sense that it would probably be a first-party Sega team that had access to those like double Sophia setups, you know, like.
Well, let's be honest. They probably got all the good stuff over like the third-party developers. They probably had all the tools and documentations, and they spoke the native language of it. So
they had it easier for sure. A lot of the first-party devs had a much easier time with it. Just like you said, they had the tools, they had everything, and they certainly used them to their advantage in Zwei. Like this is absolutely a must-play. Yeah. So very much pushes the console and really shows off those creamy 3D graphics.
The benchmark of engineering excellence, was it?
Yes. Yep. That's the one.
Well, tell us, Nick, then about this benchmark of engineering excellence and the recent speedrun records that have been smashed. This is an article by Nick.
Yes. So, believe it or not, I wrote an article for the website, and even more surprising than that is there's a very small amount of people who do speedruns on Sega Saturn games. And, you know, not all are super popular amongst the speedrunning community. And in fact, the Saturn in general really isn't that popular for speedrunners. If you go look at Sonic R, for example, they're all using the GameCube version because I guess it's faster. Yeah. I haven't looked into why, but that's, I would assume that that's because it's speedier. But anyway, so Nights into Dreams and Sega Rally both had some world records broken for the Saturn, with the Nights runners mainly using the Saturn platform. Right. Starting off with Sega Rally, since that's kind of the order I wrote this in, there's a runner who goes by the all-caps name Sega Rally. That's their name. I don't know why they named themselves after the game, but whatever. So they clearly really enjoy Sega Rally and set a nice.
I figured it was a Daytona fan. I don't know how they.
You think no, but nope. This guy likes Sega Rally, so they drove a nice clean 3 minutes 15 seconds flat and 0 milliseconds in championship mode, which is the standard gameplay mode in Sega Rally. That's a very good time. Yeah. Like if you were to play the game now, the top default time is 3:25. Yeah. And that's considered to be a challenge to beat. That's difficult to get to. Getting first place at all in Sega Rally Championship is by itself difficult for people new to the game. You have to be extremely precise, and you have to know the tracks and know each and every turn by heart. And this runner just does it beautifully. The video's in the article. You guys need to go watch it whenever you're able to, once you're done watching the Shiro show here. Mm-hmm. And yeah, the 315, that's with one of the default cars, not the Lancia Stratos, which you unlock. The Stratos is a faster car, and getting a 315 in the Stratos would be itself a challenge.
Looks like the Celica that he's using.
Yep, that's what he's using. Driving in manual, of course.
The Evo.
Right. And then Nights into Dreams, that had a world record set. It's split into categories since there are Elliot and Claris, divisions. But the category that was broken recently was the all levels category.
Right.
That was the more standout world record because you play all the levels, and that particular record hasn't been broken in 2 years. So some guy who I'm assuming is new to the Night speedrunning community, maybe they've played it for a while. I didn't get a chance to really look into his history, but a guy by the name of Po Chillin played through all levels in 23 minutes and 0 seconds on March 18th.
Cool.
And he beat the world record by a mere 2 seconds. So this guy was grinding away just to shave off 2 seconds from the world record.
I mean, that's how it is. I mean, I was actually watching a speedrunning video about F-Zero original records. It's pretty cool seeing all the it's crazy because they had records that stood like for 18 years that literally it was before I was born. It was broken when I started college. It's pretty crazy.
Wow.
It's nuts. Yeah. People go to great lengths to beat many-year-old world records. Everybody should watch Summoning Salt. I'm sure most people have already heard of Summoning Salt, but that person...
I think that's the one I was watching,
I've seen you
actually.
post a lot. I've seen you post a lot from that guy.
Oh, yeah. Great content. And then Claris and Elliot have different categories, and a user by the name of Fart Daily set world records for both of those as well.
Very nice.
If you're familiar
Shouts
with
out to Fart Daily.
Yeah, shout out to Fart Daily. If you're familiar with the game, there are moments.
Is that the other Metroid code? Instead of Justin Bailey, it's Fart Bailey?
Fart Bailey, yes. And then you get to play as... I don't know. Yeah. But... there are moments in the speedrun where they play as the children on foot instead of flying around as knights to get faster times. Very optimized speedrun at Knights. Also fun to watch if you're familiar with the game. And that's that. People speedrun Saturn games.
So maybe they'll start doing it more.
Yeah, and I think I think Dave and I were talking about that, and he said he's more a fan of the score attack records, and I'm more of a fan of the. I mean, I like the speedrunning, but I love the score attacks too.
The score attacks probably take a little more time and definitely more time to do in general, but that's definitely a more. Well, they take, in my opinion,
they take a lot more time. I would say they take exponentially more time because the whole point there is to spend as much time as you possibly can running down the clock. Right. So I mean. And I love a good speed run. In fact, I love Resident Evil speed runs. I love, I am a fan of speed runs in general, but speed running Nights to me is kind of like speed running sex. Like you can do it, you can finish early if you want to.
Oh my gosh, we're gonna get to flag, Dave. Thanks.
Sure we are. No, this video is not for kids. No, but so that's just I missed the point because I'm just like, okay, well, like why would you want to do that? But no, I mean there's always somebody out there who's gonna speed run a game. I saw somebody speed running Lunacy. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, yeah, there's always a speedrunner out there that is speedrunning something. And even recently I saw somebody speedrunning something with a blindfold on. So like the speedrunning community is alive and well, and I'm glad that folks are giving the Saturn the love and the time of day.
Right. It's good. Knights is certainly not, like you said, it's definitely not built for speedrunning. Sega Rally obviously is more of a speed-based game, and the time set on that recently have been extremely impressive.
Now that somebody's thrown down...
Whatever Sega Rally is, they're doing a great job.
That somebody's thrown down the gauntlet, for Knights, I mean, maybe more people will try to smash that record and keep it going,
Perhaps.
For Christmas,
we'll have to
for this
see.
last Christmas, I did a little fun thing. Simon on the Junkyard, he challenged anybody on the Junkyard to basically get the lowest score possible, and I went ahead and got a 0. I went ahead and lost all of my points and was able to finish going Christmas Nights with 0. So it is possible.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you basically just have to like collect everything and then like stand by the gazebo and let the clock knock you out, and then like hop on and grab the idea and just finish the level. And you can and then you have to beat Gilwing in the worst way possible, but you can't you have to beat him, but you just have to like run the clock all the way down and then like beat him at the last second, and you will score a 0. So it is possible. Unfortunately you can't score any less than 0. But
today we learned that Saturn Dave is a generous lover. End quote. JR in the chat. Thank you, JR.
Well, it's something like that.
Can we get Can we get was it the Michael George Michael song, the sax?
Michael, nice.
Yeah, did you get that playing?
Have you guys tried Satiator rings yet? You guys both have Satiators.
No.
Okay.
No.
I actually did.
Good. What did you think?
Yeah, I had some issues with it, but I got it running.
You had issues with it.
Yeah, so I was confused. I wasn't sure. How do you get it to? I guess we'll go through the article and
we'll
ask
go
it
through the
afterwards,
article,
though.
and I'm going to show it off to you guys too in the game stream, so you guys will be able to see how it works. But basically, and I posted this up when version 4 came out, and then like within minutes or within an hour of posting the article, I found out, okay, version 4.1 has come out, and he is actually just like working away at like trying to like make this thing as smooth as possible. So basically, what you can do here, you can go to his site. In fact, if I click through, I'm not sure that it's going to keep our browser window available. So feel free to click through to the site. The original link is right here. If you want to download the wares directly from his site, but there are links in this article. You can download his little configuration pack that comes with the themes. It comes with the rings ISO itself and the folders that you need that it accesses on your SD root, but it also comes with a little configurator thing. And so what you can do with the configurator, you open that up and it says, it basically says, go ahead and point to the folder where your games are. So you do that, and then it brings up all of your games, and it has a Google search function where you can literally search for game images, and it will resize them and apply them to your SD card automatically like that. It makes them so small that they actually load like instantaneously when you're going down the list. And I'm going to show you guys this. I will show you.
It's crazy.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It works great.
It like loads so fast. It's like it's not even a thing. It's like boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
No lag. Images on the side.
And he gives you the opportunity to create your own themes. So I created a Shiro show theme, which I'm going to show you guys during the game stream. So stick around for that. It's really cool. And
we have to share out the config information for
that. I will.
that.
Yeah, I will. We'll make sure you guys get it. And maybe we'll even do a video. I won't be able to do that right now, but we can probably follow this up with a little video tutorial showing you guys how this works. It's not hard at all. You guys can create your own little bouncing images and apply them to your folders. You can apply them to your games. You can completely have this thing just done up the way that you want to. And if you have an action replay and you use his patch, he has an AR patch here, you go ahead and patch your action replay. There's an option then to have your Saturn boot directly into the rings menu. And it also gives you the opportunity to do the, the start plus XY, or start plus ABC to basically soft reset back into rings. But you need an action replay that has been patched to do that. Otherwise, you're just, standing up and resetting the console,
Yeah, I was actually going to ask that. Is there a way to make that the default menu, or do you actually have to patch your action replay to do that?
Right now, okay, so Professor Abrasive, he made the menu open source so that folks could do this. Now, if he decides to adopt something like Satiator Rings as the de facto menu, there is a chance that he could release a firmware version and a menu version that will just make it the de facto menu. But for right now, it's basically like a separate menu that you need to have an action replay plugged in that has been patched to basically auto boot right into rings. But as it is right now,
it actually makes me wonder if you can actually just rename the menu, the menu.bin to this, and maybe it'll just load this automatically.
You try that, Pat, and let me know how it goes. Because menu.bin is menu.bin, and this is Satiator Rings.iso. So first you'd have to convert it into a bin, and then you'd have to call it menu, and you could try. I was curious about the same thing, so if you want to try it and report back to me, then let me know if that works or if it completely destroys your system. But
yeah, if my Saturn's on fire, you know what happened.
Exactly. Yeah.
It worked.
I haven't tried this out myself, but as a Satiator owner, I'm going to have to give it a whirl. And here's my thing. I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled that this is a thing that exists, that people are making nice menus. And a lot of people complained about the default menu of the Satiator looking a little too dull. But here's my hot take.
Go ahead.
I don't care about what the menu looks like.
Sure.
I just want to play the games. But super giant amount of credit to the person who made Satiator Rings, because it does look super slick and it does spiff up the presentation of your satiator on boot.
There are some quality improvements of life, though, that I will go over that I do think it gives it a little bit of an edge. I definitely hear.
Ooh, okay.
So like Rhea, the Rhea menu is.
So it's not just cosmetic.
It's not just cosmetic. There are some actual cool things that it does that I'm going to show you during our game stream that I think are a good argument for going ahead and putting it on. And you know what? It doesn't cost you anything because you could still run, like I'm running the regular satiator menu right now, but if I so choose, I can change my experience over to rings just like that. And then, you know, you've got that experience. And there are a couple of things that I'm going to show you guys, but moving on because we got, you know, it's, we got like a half hour left for the news and we've got some things to talk about. So this is like a half-hour conversation right here. Peter, so Peter, he does these posts called Best of Saturn, hashtag Best of Saturn. And they're phenomenally, they are really, really successful in getting the community talking. It's just amazing. And I wanted to put something on the website talking about it a little bit. Yeah, okay, so basically this was Peter's original post to Twitter, just some screenshots and, you know, just hinting at the fact that, you know, basically a build is out there, you know. Ooh, okay, didn't mean to, it's out there.
I was about to say
I
that.
was like, I didn't mean to, like, actually click through, but that's Twitter for you. So, anyway, yeah, what do you guys think about this old test build footage that we've all seen like a million times, but like in 20 years, nobody has come forward and just said, I have this, you know? I mean,
yeah.
There are so many unreleased Saturn games and early builds that have in recent years been coming to light.
Right.
And the first thing that pops in my head, obviously, is the Star Wars Rebel Strikes game. Like, no one really knew that game existed. Maybe a few people knew, but that didn't really, like, that just came out someday. And people were like, whoa, like one day, hey, there's a Star Wars game. Here's video of it. We almost made it.
Right.
And then they
the
built
thing
for
about
the World Play, like, not too long after. The build of Shenmue on the Saturn had to have been made at some point, and it has to be out there.
Right.
It has to be.
And the thing is that we don't even know how much is done because there's no audio that we've heard from
Wait a second. So we do actually. So I wrote up this little article, okay? In 2014, Yu Suzuki himself, he did a keynote at the GDC conference, right? And he talked about Shenmue post-mortem, right? And what he did was he gave us this nice little PowerPoint presentation. You guys can watch it right here. I linked a YouTube video to it. But he goes slide through slide talking in a linear fashion about how the thing was made, right? And this is what we can conclude based on information that he has given, that in 1993, he took a trip to China to research VF2, right? And he was getting like fighting styles, and he was capturing photographic assets and stuff like that. And at the same time, he was really inspired to create like an RPG style game that broke with convention. Like Nick was saying, that was kind of Yu Suzuki's thing. He always was trying to break the convention of what was being done, you know, or what was accepted as like standard gameplay design. And then in 1995, he wrote the story The Old Man and the Peach Tree, which was just like a proof of concept kind of thing that he had a small team create a demo for to see what the Saturn could do, what a stock Saturn could do. And it tested camera angles, it tested dialogues, it tested character movement, stuff like that. Here's a slide showing you that information. He was satisfied with the concept and decided that he wanted to move forward with it. So late summer 96, RPG Project began development after AM2 completed Virtua Fighter 3. Okay, so the project was assigned with the codename Guppy. Now this is the really interesting point. He does even talk about, and I mean, I'll show you the slide where he talks about transitioning. Right here, over to the left here, you can see that the codename was Guppy, and then it became Berkeley. Once the new hardware came out, they gave Yu Suzuki's project the codename Guppy. But then in this 60th anniversary Sega video that was just released this year, you got them talking about the fact that Dural, which was supposed to be the Saturn's successor, some type of Saturn successor, was Dural, and that was kind of like a really generic code name. But you had Sega of America raising their hand and saying, okay, we have contacts with Lockheed Martin. We would like to, or what was it, 3D Labs or something like that. I forget.
3D effects, I think.
Yeah, so they over in America, they're doing their own thing, and they're like trying to bid for this expansion hardware, and they called it Black Belt. And it's all in this video. You can just turn on captions and watch the whole thing. Whereas in Japan, they're like, okay, so we're going to try to work on our version of the hardware, and they called it Guppy. So the hardware was called Guppy, but also the project was called Guppy, which leads me to conclude, and again, I am extrapolating here, so feel free to tell me that I'm totally wrong, but if Yu Suzuki is calling his project Guppy and the hardware is also called Guppy, it sounds like they're basically married to each other. Like this is the software that would run on this hardware in a demo situation to prove that this is, going to be the move forward.
You know what conclusion it leads me to, Dave? Sega was an absolute mess
Sega
during the 90s.
Sega was a mess.
Like they had two different divisions making a successor to one console, and they didn't let anybody in on anything about it.
Well, okay, so you're absolutely right. We all know that Sega was supporting like multiple consoles, and they were just poorly managed. And to be honest, they were managed on two different sides, and so it was like constant disagreement and stuff like that. But what we do know is Okayasu, who was one of the developers and hardware engineers, said that the team had already remade the game once in order to run on a Saturn that had been specifically expanded with an acceleration board. That is cited from, let's see here, from this article right here, Phantom Riverstone, where they had Suzuki and Okuyasu in the studio answering questions about Saturn, and they talk about all the same stuff we're talking about here. Shenmue on Saturn, and basically Suzuki goes on record saying that it ran good for a Saturn, but at this stage they're talking about the expanded hardware, and Okuyasu basically says that yes, it had to run on a Saturn that was expanded with an acceleration board. Now we've all heard from like old magazine articles and like murmurings about 64X, or Saturn 2, or and wondering like what that acceleration board might be. This is what I think it is. Because at this point it wasn't Katana yet. It was like it was basically the second build that they did, the second remake. So the first remake,
and it wasn't like you're saying it wasn't the Dreamcast.
It wasn't the Dreamcast yet. It wasn't the Dream because PlayStation was still viable, and PlayStation 2 wouldn't be released for years to come. So at this point it was like, they wanted to continue to compete with PlayStation, and they thought the way forward before Bernie said that the Saturn wasn't our future. I'm sure they were thinking the way forward was just to try to like push the Saturn a little farther, and then it would definitely remain competitive with what PlayStation was putting out. And so Yu Suzuki did go on record saying that the game ran good, and he even said, no, if we come down here, this is his trip to China. He's gathering assets, he's gathering cultural references and stuff like that, things that he wants to put into the game.
He's stealing Shenmue trees.
It blows up into it blows up into an 11 chapter game. He's got artwork for each chapter, and he says, in that article he also says that everyone on the AM2 team received a disc copy of that build, along with music, orchestral music that had been recorded months earlier, okay? And then he says that development on the extended Saturn hardware takes the story all the way up to Guilin and performs pretty well for a Saturn. It was at this point that fourth quarter 1997 that he's informed of the Katana hardware, or like the move to Katana. So basically they had to scrap everything and start rebuilding the game on the Katana hardware, and that's when it becomes Project Berkeley right here. And instead of Virtua Fighter RPG Akira story, it becomes Shenmue Chapter 1 Yokosuka. So you got the first build, which was just the proof of concept, Old Man and the Peach Tree. You got the second build, which is the Guppy project, for the extended hardware, which is also, according to Sega's 60th anniversary hardware video, also called Guppy, the Sega of Japan's version of the hardware. And then again, the US's version was called Black Belt, but it never saw the light of day because nothing the US did during this time really got greenlit. And then Project Berkeley was the third build, which we all know as Shenmue. And then I was corrected by people on Twitter. I thought that this footage was exclusively rolled out as a part of the Xbox, the Xbox release. But it actually turns out all the PAL folks who experienced it on the Dreamcast say that, it was included in the Dreamcast version as well. That's my...
Shenmue 2, right?
Again, and that's my ignorance because I experienced it I had a copy on Dreamcast, but I never finished that version. And I ended up selling it, and I actually experienced it on the Xbox, and that's where I saw this footage from. So I just assumed that this footage came from the Xbox version, which got me thinking, okay, Microsoft must have had access to that build. But actually, it was included in 2001 release of Shenmue 2 on the Dreamcast, which means that at least as of 2001, 20 years ago, Sega had a copy of the build and the hardware to play it on in order to capture that footage for the extended features. So what has happened?
It's somewhere.
It's somewhere in the world.
As Saturn Memories accurately pointed out in the chat, the Japanese prototypes do not get publicized nearly as often as the Western stuff.
Yes,
because the different cultural stuff.
Absolutely.
They just don't make stuff like that nearly as often.
You, Suzuki-san must own a copy. I figure he gave one to all the AM2 people. He must own a copy.
He can't not have it.
But he's not bragging about it. It's and maybe he doesn't even realize that it's something that we're all drooling over. But I mean,
Yeah, I don't think we're ever going to see the light of day of that.
We may not. Now, we have a mutual friend who I'm not going to name here just to keep his privacy, and I trust this guy. I really do. And he's come to me and said that he knows somebody who claimed to have a copy and even showed him some proof in over live video. And he was just like, Dave, you got to believe me. I'm not this is, and he's been looking for this guy, but this guy vanished on Facebook or on whatever forum he saw him on. And then the other day when Peter posts this Twitter post, some dude on Facebook claims to have some kind of a build of one of the buildings in Kowloon. And Peter was like, do tell, tell me more. And the guy's like, oh yeah, I'm using it as a coaster on my coffee table. I'm just like, yeah, right.
Yeah.
I will believe it when I see
okay.
it. So
Sure.
if you guys are watching this and one of you guys happens to have any kind of build, any kind of anything, it doesn't matter if it runs at 5 frames per second, if you have anything and you can prove it, do it, because otherwise, I'm taking it with a grain of salt.
Use it as frisbee if I get my way.
I would love folks to comment and speculate on this. To me, this was the biggest revelation of doing this research is that they clearly refer to the hardware as Guppy, but Suzuki clearly refers to the project as Guppy. And then when it changes names, it changes to Berkeley, not Katana, right? So it's Guppy was definitely the name of the project or the code name of the project, and then it became Project Berkeley on the Katana hardware. But anyway, I do encourage folks to watch this video as it's really, really enlightening, and it does have English subs. So, anything else you guys want to talk about Shenmue while we're at it?
I guess in terms of how I always separate it is on the Saturn, I always refer to it as Akira Story RPG.
Sure.
Virtua Fighter RPG.
And you're not wrong, because as of okay, so the only reason I think that people are doing that is because of this image right here, this Saturn Shenmue Saturn version that you got in that test build video, because you're absolutely right, Pat, that at the point that it changed hardware over to Berkeley, over to Katana, that's the point at which it was named Shenmue. So for the entire time, that it was on the Saturn, it was Virtua Fighter RPG Akira Story.
It makes you wonder, though. I wonder if it was going to be a series of games where it's like each one is following one character's storyline, and it just turned to, you know what? Why don't we focus on Akira's, let's make him a whole new character.
Right. Well, I mean, again, like how that's kind of what I was thinking about too. It's like, okay, there's a lot of characters in Virtua Fighter. I mean, when you're talking about like an 11 chapter game, you know, I mean, and then you know, maybe the story just kind of changed directions enough that they were just like, we need to break away from Virtua Fighter in order to be able to tell this story without... Because wasn't Dural Akira's mother? And Dural was like this silver robot-looking chick?
I think Dural was Kage's mother.
Kage.
If memory serves,
no, you're right.
That's going off strictly
I think you are correct.
Remember.
Yeah, Kage's the ninja, right?
Yeah.
No, you are correct. And I guess I don't know who's Akira's dad. The dude in like Virtua Fighter. I don't remember. At this point, I cannot remember. Somebody's got to correct me in the comments.
Hang on. I can look this up.
I mean, but anyway, yeah. So it did change, and we got Ryo instead of Akira, and it was probably for the better because, you know, that way it wasn't.
That series is dead. Virtua Fighter is dead.
I mean, you know, it made sense. They were trying to capitalize on a very popular franchise at the time, but at the same time, like trying to tell a completely original narrative of this, like, you know, struggle to avenge his father and everything like that. I think that it was easier to just create a brand new character, and that way they wouldn't be tied to, you know, I don't know, fans being unhappy that, you know, one thing or another got changed, you know, in the process.
Yeah, I do like your timeline. You didn't include Shenmue 3 in there.
I did not include. Well, yeah, I didn't include Shenmue 3.
I guess it wasn't relevant to the story you're telling, but still.
So Akira doesn't canonically. I mean, he's probably got a dad canonically, but it's not like a known character. And then Saturn Memories pointed this out too. In lore, there's many references to his grandfather, who doesn't seem to be named.
Right.
So, and then another fun fact in the chat: Lau is the father of Pi, both playable fighters in Virtua.
Cool. Yeah, so I mean, really, I hope if there's any point to Peter posting this or me writing this up, really, it's more than anything, it's just to put this out there into the digital ether.
The ball rolling on this guy. It's people
and
talking.
Get people talking,
which is
and
great.
hopefully somebody will be like, yeah, fine, I will come forward and admit that, you know, I have a working copy of this. Probably won't.
Suzuki's like, okay, fine, here.
Yeah, I know. Like, I mean, and that's the thing is, if it, you know, I don't have the balls to approach somebody like you, Suzuki, right now and be like, you know, if I have one question to ask the guy, it's not going to be like, hey, can you please share your copy of, you know, I mean, I don't want to be that guy.
Let me tell you how to use it.
Yeah.
More than likely, he's gonna ask, why do you want to play this broken build that's like one area that crashes every 5 minutes?
You know, but it's not, though. It's not one area. It's like if you've watched the video. Sorry, I keep scrolling. If you watch the original video, you've got Yu's backyard. Or sorry, you've got Ryo's backyard. You've got the Kowloon apartments. You've got the fight with the dude, the son. I forget what his name is. You know, the son with the gray business suit on. He's like a salaryman, but he knows karate. He knows, you know, all sorts of karate. You got the chick. Now I'm forgetting all their names, but the chick at the temple.
And my thing is, would it even run on a stock Saturn?
It likely wouldn't. I can't imagine that it would. And you'd need this hardware that is like completely proprietary
that nobody knows about. So even if we got a build, it's like, how are we going to be able to play it?
Even Suzuki said that nothing from the Old Man and the Peach Tree build was even intended to be preserved. So that, like, they made no effort to preserve that, at least that he knows of. So I mean, unless somebody from that very small team that made that little test build happened to keep a disc and it's not rotted by now, I mean, that's the only thing that I imagine would actually run on a stock Saturn, because that's the whole point of it. It was to test those kinds of things. But then when they were greenlit to start the project, they really needed something for this new hardware expansion to be able to like show it off and demo it. And I think that, was Suzuki-san was like their number one guy. He was their go-to for that kind of stuff. I mean, even for the pack-in game Virtua Fighter, it's, you know, he got the ball rolling with when it came to software for whatever new hardware. So it makes sense that they would go to him and say, hey, we want this project to be like the thing that we showcase on this new hardware. But yeah, anybody following along want to correct me, by all means, please do, because I don't know everything. I'm only literally just following along really closely and taking notes and trying to extrapolate information from what we are told directly from the source. So yeah, it's like, because what I want is for us to have a greater understanding of like the whole timeline of like Black Belt and Guppy and where it all fits into place, because for years I've just been speculating, and now I feel like it's clearer than it has been. But yeah.
Yeah, well,
that's that. Enough about that. Nick, you still with us?
go buy Shenmue 3.
Oh, I'm still here,
Yeah.
man. Yeah, that's Shenmue.
That's Shenmue.
Or
And
Shenmue.
Shenmue, baby.
Yeah, so just to recap, we have a new patch from Trekkies for Grandia. Go check it out. It's available at Sega Extreme. There is a link that you can click through on our website to get there and download it. 25 years of Panzer Dragoon II Zwei. Go play that game if you haven't. It's absolutely amazing. Easily one of the top 10 games for the Saturn.
Well, it's an older update. The remake of 2 is in the works by the same folks that did the remake of 1. That's supposed to be released later this year. According
Yeah,
to
but when we get a remake of the most important one, Saga.
Saga. Oh yeah. Well, do you guys want to talk about that? So yeah, we were talking about it. Nothing new has come to light, and no licenses have been obtained. So we're in the same position that we were last week.
I got blocked by the project's leader. That's a
You
development.
did. Congratulations. Congratulations.
Yes.
That's
Thank you. Yes.
yeah.
It's an
That is
accomplishment.
an
Actually, I
accomplishment.
just saw the DesertRetro pop in the chat, the live stream room, but he left immediately.
Oh man.
So if he wants to come in and talk about that in his article, he's more than welcome
That's right.
to.
He wrote an amazing article, which we
He
should
did.
have linked.
I think I actually go. Let me go look at it real quick, because there were some worthy highlights in there. Hang on, I gotta
Yeah,
find it. I know I tweeted
absolutely.
it. Here it is. Here it is.
It was a
So,
whack-
Yeah,
Wackoid.
but if you're still watching
This is
DesertRetro, hop in the
this is
chat.
the Wackoid article, right?
Yeah, but it's written by Desert Retro. Desert Retro is a writer for Wackoid.
Yes. I just don't want people to get confused, because there's a couple of articles floating out there, and they're not all of the same quality.
So right now, basically what's going on with Saga, in a nutshell, there's a group of people that seems to be led by a sort of well-known in the community Twitter user, Panzer Dragoon World.
Right.
He launched a Patreon for Azel Resurrection, and is basically saying this is a Panzer Dragoon Saga remake. He does not have a license from Sega, and the Patreon is sort of funding what I guess would become a business pitch to Sega to get a license. But then he also says somewhere in the Patreon and somewhere on his Twitter that it's not a Saga remake because they don't have the license. It's just Azel Resurrection, because Azel is not a copyrighted name or whatever. But there's Saga models in the YouTube video that he uses to pitch to Patreon, and a song from Saga in the YouTube video.
Right.
So it's obviously an attempt to be a Saga remake.
Exactly.
So DesertRetro's in the chat. Let me.
Yeah,
let me
maybe
just,
you want to unmute Desert Retro if he's in there, because he can explain this way better than I can, because he put a ton of legwork into researching this fiasco.
Yep.
Yeah,
So-
he should be able to talk. Can you unmute DesertRetro? See if you can unmute. If you can, you should be good now. If not, let me know.
Perhaps Desert Retro
He's
is
getting his
AFK.
mic up, so
Okay.
Okay. Oh, he's getting his mic up.
What is- yeah.
Sorry for
Yeah,
that.
no
delay.
worries.
But yes,
Yeah.
we'll hear
Let's go
more
through
from
that a
him.
little bit.
But yeah, go check out his article if you haven't. That really does a great job at explaining why this is maybe something you should not fund with money.
Right. Yeah. And that's the thing. That's the major thing. It's like if they were not asking for money, we might all roll our eyes. We might all say, okay, well, best of luck, but I don't think people would be nearly as as kind of like against it as they are, because the fact is they're asking for you to fund their efforts, and we all kind of know that a cease and desist is just kind of like looming on the horizon, you know, because it's not, because I mean, Sega is almost obligate to put out a cease and desist, you know, because if they didn't, what would that do? That wouldn't protect their IP, and it would send a bad message to other people who look to, you know, do the same thing with their IPs.
Gotcha. He should be able to talk now.
There's already two.
Cool.
There we go. Hey, DesertRetro, how you doing?
I'm doing well. I thought I was merely spectating, but now I'm part of the show.
Yes.
Welcome aboard. You have some insight on what's going on. Tell us about your article and sort of about what you found out. You did a ton of work into digging into this situation, this drama, I guess. So go ahead and tell us what you found out.
I do think that drama is the fairest way to put it, since it's certainly not news.
Are we drama alert now?
Basically, if you look through it, and honestly, I did try to be as generous as possible when anything that I couldn't distinctly prove. And I mean, Nick, you know, I sent you some things via DM where it's just like that stuff I couldn't print, which is even more salacious. But I mean, basically, the guy wanted to generate interest in a Panzer Dragoon Saga remake, and to do so, he, you know, without to mince words, he paid an artist to make some fake concept art, leaked it on 4chan, and then, you know, in I guess either retaliation or jealousy of Wildman developing an actual game, they decided to, or maybe they had this in the works for a while, but they decided to basically make a fake game.
For context, Wildman he's the one behind Panzer Dragoon Voyage Record. Is that right, everybody? The VR Panzer Dragoon game. That's
correct.
Okay. Yeah, there's some weird feud between the guy behind this, I guess, faux Saga remake and Wildman for whatever reason.
Why?
Well, it goes back to the Panzer Dragoon remake that Forever Entertainment was making, where Wildman is being in the industry, had an opportunity to play an early build of it, and basically gave criticism that, you know, Nick, you said in your review, and pretty much everyone else said in their review. I think Sega Saturn Gentleman touched on it too. Is that there was just a lot wrong with 1.0 and you know, this is coming from a Panzer Dragoon super fan here. And Wildman, it's like 3-6 months before the game even was released, was like, hey, you know, there's some issues here. Guy didn't take too kindly to that, I guess. You know, anything that isn't immediate deference to Panzer Dragoon is insulting to the fandom. So, you know, that's basically where it started from.
Yeah, it's really bad to get on that mentality, because we need to, as much as we do need to support a lot, we need to like support some of these releases. We have to also be real with it and point out when it has problems to make it even better than before. I mean everyone knows the Cyberpunk situation, so
like the current state of Panzer Dragoon remake, it's certainly gotten much better than when it launched about a year ago now. Oh, it's already a year ago. Yeah. So, but they've answered the fans' critiques and requests, and have implemented a lot of that into the newer, updated versions of Panzer Dragoon remakes. But yeah, but getting all bent out of shape for making critiques of a Panzer Dragoon remake that were genuine critiques is not healthy.
I can honestly say, as an artist, that having somebody critique your work and give you constructive criticism that tends to slant negatively, or basically tell you like, this is good, but you need to do more, you know, it's a hard thing to take, and oftentimes it's met with defensiveness, and you know, I myself have, you know, oftentimes kind of pushed back and even made excuses. But I guarantee you that every single time that I have listened to someone else's criticism, taken it to heart and incorporated it in my work, it's always ended up making the work better in the end. I don't think that listening to criticism has ever made my artwork worse. If anything, it's always made it better. And it's always one of those processes where I kind of push back, and then I think about it some more, and I say, no, you know what, they're right. And I just need to kind of, so I think that it's good that fans have high standards. I think that it's good that they expect something from the franchise, and that they let the developers know, and that the developers listen to that and take it to heart. because that's what makes a good game. They just kind of rushed.
Absolutely.
They kind of rushed that release though, right at the beginning of the beginning of the C word. You know.
Yes. The word that YouTube doesn't like.
That he shall not be named. But yeah, no, they kind of rushed it at the beginning there, maybe as a treat to help
The C virus.
cheer people up or something like that, or give them something to do in isolation. But yeah, so the subsequent patches have been good and helped improve it quite a bit.
Right. Yeah. Graphically, it's still. I still think it looks like a PS3 game.
Yeah.
But
yeah. I cannot disagree with you.
They fixed the controls, which is my biggest issue, and I recently got the PC remake on a sale because I wanted to see what the mouse controls were like. That was maybe I should have had a better reason for buying it, but I didn't. And I did enjoy the mouse controls. I don't know if that's very popular among people who played Panzer Dragoon remake, but
fair enough.
Yeah. Anyway, DesertRetro. Is there anything else you needed to wanted to talk about in regards to the this project from Panzer Dragoon World?
Well, I guess I'd just like to reiterate the end of my article, which is that I'm not going to tell anyone how to spend their money, but that's not how I would spend my money.
Yeah.
Especially with the company that's already done 2 versions of one game and have another game in the works, and may as well might be doing another one of it, and you'd probably guess what the next one is, right?
Right.
So it's like what are it's like, oh, okay, cool. We already give the rights to these guys, so it's like okay.
Now if they
there's
I will support Forever Entertainment.
Yes. Yeah, support the guys who have permission, support the guys who are actually like working with Sega. I mean,
there are 2 development teams who already have licenses to make Panzer Dragoon content, Forever Entertainment and the behind Voyage record. So why?
And Saga's not a when, it's an sorry, it's not an if, it's a when.
Yeah,
so, if you're really waiting for it,
Voyage Record's already going to have stuff from Saga incorporated into its game. Like it's. I don't know why they felt the need to rush into this.
If projects are out there, if folks are out there wanting to do these kind of projects, and I said this in the Discord chat and I'll say it again, I think what they really need to do is they need to address the public and say, look, we would like to make a pitch video to show to Sega, and we'd like to make it the best thing that we can, to ask permission if we can do this. And they may say yes and they may say no. And people know then that they're just helping fund a pitch video. That's fine, because they're saying, Sega we may show it to them and they still may shut us down, but you're not funding a game, you're funding our ability to pitch this concept to Sega. And who knows, if it's good enough, maybe they'll say yes. That would be a more honest way to go about it, but that's not what they chose to do. So
yeah.
So,
proceed with extreme caution.
Yes.
And personally, just personal recommendation, maybe think about not proceeding at all.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's a definite non endorsement from the Shiro crew.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it is what it is. But yeah.